Hello, and welcome to the second episode of HB Fuller's podcast, Glue Talks, where our experts talk about the adhesives world and all that it connects to. I'm Bruno Carvalho, Marcom Specialist for Europe at HB Fuller, and I will be your host. Our guest today is Marie Garvins. Marie is the Technical Service Manager for North America and has been working with adhesives for flexible packaging for 30 years in different roles from technical to analytical to sales. She's truly the expert. So today we'll be talking about how our technical service team works, their view, and how new trends are affecting the flexible packaging industry. Marie, welcome and thank you for being here with us. I'm sure you have amazing industry stories to share, and I look forward on knowing them.
Thank you, Bruno. I appreciate you taking time to do this. I'm very passionate about the flexible packaging industry and I'm excited to talk to you today.
That's great. Thank you so much. And then with that, just before we get into the juicy details of such a complex industry, tell us more about yourself.
Okay, I'd be glad to. I grew up in the Chicago area and graduated from Western Illinois University. About 17 years ago, my husband and I moved from Wisconsin to North Carolina, and we now live in the Raleigh region. We have 5 children, 8 grandchildren, and one more is on the way at the end of August. I really enjoy being grandma and some other activities. I like our outdoor activities such as gardening. One thing is that I have spent my entire career in the adhesive industry. Started with Morton Chemical. You may know them as Morton Salt in their analytical department, and later in the construction adhesive group. About 30 years ago, I joined the flexible packaging group at Morton in a tech service role. At that time, Morton had almost 95% market share in this industry. And now most people will only recognize Morton Salt. About a year and a half ago, I joined HB Fuller and more recently, the FlexPack group.
First of all, congrats on your soon-to-be new grandson. It's a grandson, correct?
Yeah,
That's cool. Exciting times for you, definitely.
Yeah.
And as I can see, you have a great deal of experience, and we are really interested today in learning a bit more about that. So, on that note, I want to know more about the technical service department you work for.
Okay. First of all, I really like to talk about things that I'm very passionate about related to flexible packaging. And that involves problem solving, training, and providing sustainable solutions. I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and I want this world to be a safe place for her in the future. Information is critical to success, both for HB Fuller and for our customers. And ongoing training is the link to using our adhesives successfully. Problem solving is another passion of mine. This is something where we need to get to the root of the issue. It is key to identifying if it's adhesive related or if it's process related, and then finding the solutions for that.
I see. Can you expand on that?
There are fluctuations that happen from time to time within the market, certainly. Like when the economy is good, there's a lot of industrial sized packaging that's produced. But when it's tight, or when you have a situation like COVID over the last year and a half, packaging is designed more for home use. There are many different formats of packaging around the globe. Milk is still purchased in plastic jugs and refrigerated in the US, while milk is packaged in shelf-stable packaging in many other regions and has been for decades. New performance criteria, such as moving from rigid packaging to flexible substrates, has increased demand from adhesive performance for product resistance heat resistant so that you can have fitments and spouts that put into the pouches.
What about e-commerce?
The e-commerce market is exploding, and this has opened many opportunities for flexible packaging, as well as the increased demand for packaging for the on-the-go consumer who wants convenience but wants fresh food as well. And finally, sustainability is certainly is key to the flexible packaging market. Films, once thought to be obsolete, have now had a resurgence. Paper is being considered as a replacement for films. And then there are solutions that are under development to make traditional structures suitable for recycling and even composting. And technical service gets involved with all aspects of this. The ultimate complement is to be recognized as a resource and a partner for our customers. That requires that we have to support them when they're having issues, to introduce new products and tools to simplify, help boost productivity and overall efficiency.
And what do you mean by simplify?
What I mean is we look at developing products that can be used across a wide range of applications, both from a performance and a regulatory perspective. So we want products that can run at high line speeds, cure fast, and also meet the end user performance demands to help improve efficiencies. One example is our Flextra SBA 1010 that may be used as a single component adhesive for less demanding applications such as snack food, or it can be combined with a co-reactant for more demanding applications, including microwave reheating.
I see. And any more roles to the technical service team?
Another thing that tech service does is we conduct audits of customers' manufacturing processes to offer them opportunities to improve, identify areas where there may be other tools that they could use that would improve their efficiencies. As I mentioned, training is a passion of mine. Empowering operators to take responsibility and identify areas for improvement. Knowledge is key to them, performing a good job. And in the end, everyone benefits from that.
With that, I'm a bit curious. Is there an example that the tech service team in which they did something for one of our customers that you were not expecting, something that helped them along the way?
Sure. No, that's a great question. And I do have a good example. So there was a customer that had struggled with poor appearance and lower than expected performance with their competitive adhesive that they were using. So they invited the H.B. Fuller team to come in, and the team conducted a thorough audit of the customer's process. And that included even taking a sample of the solvent from the tanker truck that was supplying them. And what we found was that that solvent had been contaminated with water, which was compromising the performance of the adhesive. So as a result of this, the customer was able to solve the problem and then offered us an opportunity for their business as well.
Really, really good story. Amazing. And I'm also wondering, how did you came across that sort of example?
Yes, our sales pros had been working with this particular customer, and they learned of a site, a manufacturing site that was having these issues. And we were invited to come in and look at this and offer our suggestions, offer a product that might solve the problem. So that's why that led to actually then conducting an audit of the process. And I want you to know that our technical sales group, we do have many engineers that are in that group, and they are certainly qualified to work with the customers as well. And we really work together well as a team to help support the customer in these cases.
We were addressing a few topics here in terms of training, conducting audits, and everything. But one thing that makes the whole difference, I would say, and the fact that this industry is so fast paced. I wanted to understand, and I think that our viewers also want to understand a bit more on how this team in particular handles constant change in requirements and legislation.
Sure, I'd be glad to. So the tech service group is really a bridge between H.B. Fuller's product development groups, our regulatory groups, EHS, even legal, and the customer's respective groups. For instance, regulatory discussions often involve highly sensitive or proprietary information, so it's best to connect the experts with each other. It's also important to have global coordination from both the regulatory perspective, because customers are now, as the world gets smaller, as we get closer together, they want to both import and export laminations across the world. So it's important that an adhesive system is compliant in many different regions. So not just the FDA, but it needs to be compliant with the EU and visa and other regulations. And also sustainability is something that is global, of course. And there's more development that's going on in other countries than there is in the United States, but we need to be aware of those trends. So we work with both our European colleagues, our colleagues in South America, in the Middle East, to learn, what's going on, what do they need, what kind of performance criteria are they looking for. So these are all the different kinds of things that we need to consider being in technical service.
Yeah, and that also, and I think that you might agree, also impacts the way that HB Fuller needs to go to market and how it adapts its product strategy in a way to these fast-paced trends and how things change so rapidly. You agree with that, correct?
Yes, I certainly do. And another aspect of that is a partnership with co-suppliers or equipment manufacturers. As I mentioned, partnerships with co-suppliers is vital. Take, for instance, ink suppliers. So the graphics on the package are what grab the consumer's attention. That's what sells the package. So it's important that the adhesive works with the ink system. And ink formulations are modified regularly. So we need to collaborate with ink companies so that they can screen our adhesives and vice versa, so that we perform with a customer's ink system. It's important to collaborate with equipment manufacturers. We need to know, how fast are their lines capable of running, so that our adhesives can run at those line speeds. Because certainly when a customer spends a lot of money to buy this equipment, they want the adhesive to work as well. We work with film companies, especially now with the sustainability. As new films are developed that can be recycled or composted, we want the adhesive to be able to adhere to those films, and then also to be able to go through either that recycle process or composting process.
You bring out a very big point. This is one of the biggest trends, I believe, also is being put forward from different industries about, sustainability. And I feel inclined to ask, what is the biggest change you have witnessed in the industry in the last 20 years?
There's been, I would say, several impactful changes over the past 20 years, starting with solventless adhesives. So solventless adhesive technology and the laminating equipment that's designed for it has allowed new converters to enter this market. because there's a much smaller footprint to the equipment. Adhesive coat weights are much lower than solvent-based adhesives had been applied at. So there is a lot of opportunity for savings there. And of course, with solventless adhesives, because there is no solvent, there's no need for an oven. So that reduces the energy requirements to make the lamination as well. And solventless adhesives have come a long way over the past 20 years. If you think about other trends that are associated with that, for instance, like moving from rigid packaging to flexible packaging, as I mentioned, especially with the growth of e-commerce. So another trend where solventless adhesives have evolved and contribute actually is in sustainability efforts because of the reduced coat weights that are needed with solventless adhesives or used with solventless adhesives. There's a reduction in weight and bulk of packaging materials. And now we're looking at more sustainable solutions such as ply reduction and using monomaterials and more. And as I mentioned, solventless adhesives certainly meet the demands of all these trends.
So you are of the opinion that H.B. Fuller is doing everything that it can in order to adapt to this particular trend and for this particular change, and do you feel that we are adapting to that in particular?
Certainly. Yes, we do. As far as like our solventless adhesive development, I mean, we continually, look to improve our products so that they can run at higher line speeds, so that they cure faster, so that they have a longer pot life. So this allows more efficiency in the operation, so that if the operators need to take a quick break, if there had been a film break or something like that, they're not as concerned that the adhesive is going to set up in the pan. So H.B. Fuller has done a lot of development work in this area, looking for solutions, having a single product that can meet a broad range of demands, both from the performance perspective and from the regulatory perspective is important. And H.B. Fuller has developed a solventless adhesive in addition to a water-based adhesive that can be used to produce compostable laminates. We have our Flextra Evolution line of products where these solventless adhesives are used on sustainable compostable films. And that also has the added benefit of providing sound dampening with stiff films. And we're able to look at these and evaluate our adhesives on these films on our pilot coater that we have at our Willow Lake lab in Minnesota. We have a full-size laminator there, so we are able to run under real world conditions and evaluate these products.
What I'm hearing now then with that is that these new trends that are taking shape now, so H.B. Fuller is adapting to these, is making its headway on that specific aspect. And how do you expect them to play out in the future? And is H.B. Fuller prepared for something like that?
Yes. So an interesting aspect as far as sustainability is, that just last month, the U.S. Plastics Pact announced their roadmap to 2025 that includes a goal of 100% of plastic packaging will be reusable, recyclable, and compostable by 2025. This is a really lofty goal, and we are involved with that, both in North America, in Europe, and in other regions as well. So we're working to evaluate our adhesives and how they impact the recycling process, especially with monomaterials. So looking at a polyethylene to polyethylene lamination. In Europe, we have now had 2 of our solventless adhesives have been successfully used on PE to PE laminations that were then shredded and granulated into pellets and then used to make new film successfully. And in North America, we are working with partner organizations to screen our adhesive that are used in North America as well, to look to see how they impact making new film. So there's organizations such as ARIMA or TRAX, and we're working with them on that.
Really exciting. I can see that HP Florida is making its headway and to adapt to these never ending and changing trends and new regulations, and it seems very interesting, very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today in our podcast, Marie, and for shedding some light in such a challenging industry. Really great and interesting. Well, to our viewers out there, make sure to subscribe to the Glue Talks podcast, to our YouTube channel, where you can find more insights on this topic and others of interest for your industry. So that's it, the second episode of our Glue Talks podcast. We are connecting what matters most for our customers on every corner of the globe, and really looking forward on knowing what's next in the adhesive space. Let's stick together and see you next time.